Lately, Taimyr has been attracting the attention of tourists, and it's entirely understandable. The boundless expanses of the land of cold are filled with intriguing landmarks that only a few have had the opportunity to witness with their own eyes. Those who seek intense experiences, aspire to incredible discoveries, anticipate rare findings, and dream of encounters with the unknown find their way here. This region has everything to satisfy the most discerning seekers of adventure. Unforgiving Nadore, a unique ethnic tapestry, untold histories, captivating wildlife, and animas spanning both the distant past and the present. The Norilsk Development Agency continues its exploration of Taimyr's unique places and sends another expedition in search of new attractions. This time, our team will explore the wild coast of Eastern Taimyr, the gigantic Popigai meteorite crater on the Anabar plateau, the misty labyrinths of Khatanga Gulf, and the shoreless lake, Lake Taimyr. But at the beginning of our journey, we will venture into the most remote settlements to witness how the indigenous people of the cold lands live, the inhabitants of Taimyr, the largest and most inaccessible peninsula in Eurasia. Traveling on foot in Taimyr is extremely difficult, if not nearly impossible. The distances are vast, and there are numerous water obstacles, making it essential to rely on helicopters or boats. However, by combining these transportation means, one can uncover many more opportunities. Meanwhile, as our team prepares the ship for the voyage, let's explore the attractions of Katanga. Katanga serves as a gateway to the world of Taimyr. Stepping out of the aging plane onto a rickety ramp, you instantly feel transported into a different reality, a world where genuine adventures await. Getting to Katanga is only possible by plane, and it doesn't always follow a fixed schedule. Primarily inhabited by indigenous people of Taimyr, the Dolgans and Nganasans, Katanga has fully adapted to modern civilization, so you won't see reindeer or dog sleds or locals in traditional clothing here. For an authentic visual experience, one must venture far north into small villages, which we plan to visit soon. Nevertheless, local community activists arranged unique northern rituals for us, leading us to chum. We participated in rituals such as feeding the fire, tying wish ribbons, and fumigating travelers with amber smoke collected from the banks of local rivers. Although these ceremonies didn't evoke truly unique impressions for us, they were undeniably fascinating. Any celebration or arrival of guests garners the attention of the local residents, especially children, who eagerly run to greet new visitors. Children here freely roam, playing with handmade toys. Try your hand at a complex yet simple game. A metal bolt or nut is attached to a long rope tied to a regular hoop, and your task is to catch this bolt with the hoop. Amazing children. After all, children's toys, like everything else here, are quite expensive. I won't dwell on local prices, but one thing is certain. Moscow is the most affordable place to live among these northern settlements. Planes bring everything essential here. After the rituals, we were invited to the House of Creativity, where organizers arranged an exhibition and sale of works by local residents, crafts, souvenirs, and paintings. The ability of artists to convey the mood and everyday life of the indigenous people is truly impressive. For us, it's exotic, but for the locals, it's their past, their daily life, and the way their ancestors survived in the north. Many traditions have already faded into the past and don't resonate with the younger generation. Modern conveniences like motorboats, snowmobiles, and houses with heating batteries are replacing the traditional way of life. Globalization has reached the extreme north, replacing the old with the new and altering the traditional lifestyle of the Dolgans and Nganasans. Life in modern settlements distances people from nature.
Так уходит все старое и приходит новое, чуждое традиционным устоям долган
New
и
traditions,
нганасов.
like
Одним
fumigating
словом,
incoming travelers with amber
глобализация
smoke, raise
добралась и до
questions.
севера. Но тем не менее,
Despite this, we
спасибо
thank
этим
these wonderful
людям,
people for
что они
taking the time
находят
to preserve the
время и
customs of their
забывают обычаи
ancestors.
своих предков.
After all,
Ведь пока
as long
живут
as traditions
традиции,
live, the
продолжает
people who
жить
gave
и
birth to
народ,
them continue to
родивший
live.
их. Экскурсия в
The
частный
excursion to
музей
the private
Мамонта,
Mammoth
по
Museum
сути,
should be the most
должна быть
intriguing.
самой интригующей.
The museum
Музей
is located in
находится
an
в
old
старой
icebox,
древности,
carved into the
вырванном
cliff
в
of the
обрыве
Katanga
реки
River.
Кхатанга.
They call these places
Неоновый свет в
iceboxes,
проходном туннеле
referring to rooms or
завораживает,
caves
но
carved into the
нарастающий
eternal
гул
permafrost for
садится
storing meat and fish.
настораживает
Many
этнографию.
thousands of years ago,
Не
mammoths
так давно,
inhabited Taimyr,
десятки тысяч лет
and today
назад,
we can see
на
their
Таймырской
skeletons,
земле жили
bones,
мамонты.
wool,
Их скелеты,
and even
кости,
entire
шерсть и
carcasses
даже
in the
целые
Taimyr
души
tundra.
сегодня можно найти
However,
в
the
Таймырской
museum
археологии.
lacks a rich collection, as
Музей
most exhibits were
богат
plundered.
экспонатами. Большинство их
A decade ago, the collection was more extensive, initiated by the French researcher Bernard Bouygues. However, the high price of mammoth tusks led to crimes and looting. Valuable exhibits for science and enjoyment disappear for the sake of profit. Yet a complete mammoth embedded in a monolith with protruding tusks remains untouched by looters. There's another fascinating museum to visit in Katanga, the Museum of Nature and Ethnography housed in the Taimyr Reserves building. Taimyr boasts 3 state reserves, and our planned trip is to one of them, the Taymyrsky Reserve. The museum impresses with its size, but a slight disorder is noticeable. However, it's essential not to nitpick at the well-equipped exhibits, but to pay attention to the content and ancient artifacts. Some of them hold historical value and are unique. The museum provides an opportunity to learn about landmarks, rare animals, unique plants, the local ethnicity, and the northernmost section of the forest on the planet, Erimaz. We embark on a journey by ship. The latter half of August in Taimyr is the perfect time for those who love to enjoy sunsets. Each new evening paints unique patterns in the sky, fantastic color combinations, and a cheerful mood. The sunsets are so vibrant that you can admire them for a long time and endlessly photograph. While our ship rocking on the waves, seemingly unaware of this beauty, carries us forward to meet new adventures, uplifting its cheerful passengers. At 9 a.m., our little boat was already anchored off the coast near the village of Novi. Due to shallow waters, vessels cannot approach the shore, so embarkation and disembarkation of passengers are carried out using a small boat. After breakfast, invigorated by the lightness in our stomachs, we hurry to the shore, expecting to be greeted by local exotic sights. However, besides dogs, no one is waiting for us on the shore. I wonder where the people are. Are they still asleep? Soon, a representative of the settlement administration appears, and together, we head towards the village. Here, in the north, to avoid flooding during spring floods, all settlements are located on high ground. But that's not their only feature. The main distinction of all northern settlements is the ubiquitous presence of coal. There's no forest growing here, no gas supply. Heating homes is necessary almost year-round. Therefore, coal is everywhere, piled up near every house and scattered on the roads, and coal dust is felt in the eyes and mouth. We were lucky that there hadn't been rain for a while, allowing us to walk around the village without boots. We observed the uniform barrack-like architecture, paying attention to the structure of each house. Tourists have arrived. You weren't here, and you're not needed here. In big cities, residents complain. Bad roads, not enough kindergartens, few parks, poor heating in apartments, no light in the hallways, dirty air. Here, such problems are considered trivial. One can live without them. People are accustomed to living in constant extreme conditions. I can't imagine how one can live and raise children without running water, a bathtub, a washing machine, sewage, medicine, the internet, mobile communication, without diverse stores, and in constant cold. These barrels standing near each house are the local water supply filled by a water truck. In winter, the barrels are brought inside, and ice is melted in them. This is not the main inconvenience. There's no sewage system in the houses. All waste is dumped directly onto the street near the houses. The toilet for women is a bucket in the hallway, and for men, it's anywhere, amidst the vast tundra. After strolling through the village, we headed to the cultural center, where a table with local delicacies awaited us. The most exotic item turned out to be yukola, dried fish air-dried without salt. We bought yukola for the road. A local artist presented us with his works reflecting nostalgia for the past life. I feel sorry for these people and at the same time ashamed that they are forced to live like this in a large and wealthy country. There were times when real life was thriving here. Locals often reminisced about the past, exclaiming, "In Soviet times we lived well. There was work and food for everyone." Before leaving, we took a walk to the new church. People don't come here often, apparently realizing that God either doesn't see or doesn't want to notice how his parishioners live. Otherwise, he would return those old times when the endless tundra, with its sharp-pointed tents, stood here on the riverbank instead of black coal and square houses, and a thin smoke of happiness wafted above. Goodbye, Novoribnoye. My soul is sad. Maybe in the next settlement, Sasco, where we haven't yet felt the spirit of state indifference, we'll meet happy people of the Taimyr tundra. Incredibly, we were lucky with the weather. Without a storm, over tea and conversations, amid the clatter of kitchenware, our little boat quickly reached the settlement of Sasco, passing through floating islands. The ship docked several kilometers from the village because river shallows do not allow vessels to approach closer. Sasco is the last settlement on the river with water communication. Beyond it to the north, only the cold sea. Despite docking far from the settlement, we were greeted not only by dogs but also curious boys. Climbing onto an old barge, they cheerfully welcomed and photographed us as if we were exotic elephants in a zoo, capturing us on their mobile phones. As a group, we walked along the sandy spit with lowered heads, heading towards the village. Here, on the shore, amber, washed by the river, should be scattered. Our searches turned into a competition to find the largest piece of amber, but the competition was interrupted when the local administration provided us with transportation. Few of you have probably been offered a transfer on a Caterpillar tractor during your travels. We were lucky. It's an indescribable feeling when you enter the settlement on a trailer, as if in a royal carriage or a tank. You look down on everything, feeling your significance and invulnerability. We were not mistaken in our expectations. In the village of Sasco, a real celebration awaited us. It seemed like all the residents were there to welcome us. This indicates that the remoteness from civilization forms a special spirit of community. The people here are open, without complexes, cheerful, kind, and friendly. Children and women were in the front rows while men stood aside, perhaps feeling a bit reserved. We were greeted with bread, salt, and red fish. Dear guests, welcome to our village. Enjoy, don't hesitate. Savor our fish. Fresh fish became a real delicacy for us. Then the real celebration began with dances, songs, and competitions. Children sing in their language. The concert program smoothly transitions into a gastronomic pleasure. The real highlight among local dishes is stroganina, thinly sliced frozen fish served raw. Almost any fish is suitable for stroganina: whitefish, muksun, grayling, nelma. Local fishermen often compete to see who can slice the fish thinner and faster. Soon it turned out that stroganina was just a warm-up for us. A real feast awaited us in a large tent. Guests, let's go to the tent. On the tables lay a variety of treats: venison, fish, caviar, berry drinks, and teas from local herbs. I can't list all the dishes because I don't remember the names, but everything was so delicious. After a half-hour feast, we went outside, where people patiently waited for us to continue the audience. Where is Mom? Mom is somewhere listening to the tourists, and I'm looking around. Dogs walk around, people sit together. There's no disdain for each other. Everyone is one big, friendly family. How beautiful and kind they are. What a contrast to Novi. It's not clear why. Perhaps it's the remoteness from civilization. Rarely do outsiders come here, and the residents themselves rarely go out into the world. Children are the same as everywhere. Adults look at mobile phones and play games. Little ones play in the sandbox, barebacks, and no one pays attention. If this were us, Mom would immediately exclaim. But here, I don't know the depth of this puddle. Now, while my mother doesn't see, I'll try to run away quickly. No, didn't make it. Never mind, next time I'll check. The celebration continues. Someone throws arcana, children have fun and play loudly, attracting attention. How much this meeting differs from the one in Novi. The residents take us around the village, show us their homes, and share their lives. People without any benefit come out of their homes and offered us fresh fish. The celebration eventually ends. They provide us with transportation and we load gifts, barely managing to climb. Goodbye, kind people of the tundra. Many have heard of the Tunguska meteorite, which fell in the Siberian taiga over 100 years ago. However, few know about the Popigai meteorite, yet this celestial object was much larger than the Tunguska meteorite and left a massive crater in Siberia with a diameter of about 100 kilometers. It is the largest meteorite crater in Russia and is located on the northern part of the Anabar plateau. I first heard about this crater in lectures on general geology while studying at the university. I remember how I eagerly listened to the lecturer with my mouth wide open, dreaming of reaching this place, climbing to the edge of the crater, and seeing a huge pit filled with rocks, among which I would undoubtedly find remnants of the meteorite. 10 years later, my dreams came true and I saw a completely different picture. It turned out that it is simply impossible to discern such a large crater from the ground, let alone climb its edge. The entire crater can only be seen from space. Giant craters left by celestial bodies are called astroblems, the star scars of the Earth. About 200 astroblems are known on Earth, with 20 of them located in Russia. The world's largest astrobleme is the Vredefort crater, situated in South Africa, with a diameter of about 300 kilometres. The Popigai crater was discovered relatively recently, in 1946. At that time, it was believed to be an erosion depression, and only in the 1970s, geologist Victor Masaitis and his colleagues proved that the Popigai depression is, in fact, a meteorite crater. Geologists studied the exposure on the right bank of the Rosoka River, where they found rocks subjected to shock melting and fragmentation. In this area, the river exposes rocks that, as a result of the asteroid impact, were ejected from different depths and mixed into one giant conglomerate consisting of dust, glass, rock fragments, and boulders of various sizes, compositions, and colors. Due to the diverse colors of the rocks in the cliff wall, the exposure is called the speckled rocks locality. The Popigai crater is the fourth largest crater in the world. It is hard to imagine the force of the explosion that created a crater with a diameter of 100 kilometers and a depth of 200 meters. According to scientists' calculations, an asteroid with a diameter of 8 kilometers could have left a crater of such size. Most interestingly, about 35 million years ago, when the Popigai meteorite fell on Earth, several similar collisions occurred, subjecting the planet to a real cosmic bombardment. These catastrophes led to a sudden cooling on Earth and, consequently, the extinction of a significant portion of flora and fauna. Studying the Popigai crater, geologists discovered a new rock formation called impactites, containing industrial diamonds, the hardest and most durable substance on Earth. Despite the potentially significant reserves of impact diamonds, their extraction was not pursued as, at the time of the discovery, the technology for producing synthetic diamonds was already available in the country. Perhaps this turned out for the best, as the uniqueness of the Popigai crater extends beyond diamonds, encompassing its northern nature and ethnography. Let's begin with nature. The Popigai Depression is surrounded on all sides by barren tundra and desolate mountains, but within the crater itself, a true oasis of life unfolds. One of the world's northernmost large areas of real forest thrives here, with shrubs and heather flourishing abundantly. This rich vegetation at 71° north latitude has contributed to the settlement of the depression by forest animals. Brown bears, capercaillies, sables, and even moose can be found here. The landscape of the crater is so beautiful that turning the camera in any direction captures a picturesque masterpiece. In a sense, the stunning landscapes of the wild Arctic nature could make the Popigai astrobleme one of the attractive destinations for tourism. However, few people currently visit to admire the rare scenes of prehistoric Earth life. Although this might change in the future, it is essential to always remember that the Popigai star wound is a unique natural object in the fragile North. The crater not only attracted wildlife but has been home to the indigenous people of these lands, the Dolgans and Nganasans, who named their settlement Papy after the river. The settlement is located on the outskirts of the crater on the banks of the Papy River. Today it is referred to as Old Papy, but it is not permanently inhabited. Why did people leave? The surroundings are beautiful, the river is abundant with fish, and there's a forest all around. It is said to be due to supply difficulties. Ships from Katanga in the summer could barely navigate so far up the river during the short navigation period, and the river quickly became shallow. Supplying by air was too expensive in modern times. People lived here for 70 years, and then suddenly, supply became challenging. In the late 80s, residents left the settlement and moved downstream along the Papy River to the treeless tundra. However, people still occasionally visit. Some come to visit the graves of their ancestors, others to hunt or enjoy solitude. In the tundra, the indigenous people will always find something to do. The residents may have left, but the abandoned homes gradually decay and crumble. Many have roofs that have caved in, floors have rotted away, and mold has taken over inside. The north is unforgiving to structures, and if not inhabited, they quickly fall into disrepair. Oh, everything here has collapsed. The house is not habitable. The stove inside is made of stone. A hood on the wall, shelves, a kitchen. It used to be. And here is the living area. A bed is standing. A mirror. It has an unusual frame. The women's room with flowers. We celebrated New Year here. Utensils on the stove. Skulls are hanging, probably of foxes. And here, it's dry. This is a reindeer seat. Reindeer hides. A children's room, toys, shelves, a teddy bear.
Кровать.
Everything is scattered here.
Ну, тут печка
There's a
стоит.
modern stove,
Буржуй.
quick to heat and warm the
Ну, это
room.
сейчас. Быстро приехал, натопил, и все нормально. Лежит
A book, Four Winds,
4 ветра.
a broken knife. Everything is in ruins. The ceiling has collapsed.
Все разрушено. Потолок упал. На склоне выше
On the slope
поселка
above the settlement is an old cemetery. It's very old.
находится
You can't see
старое
gravestones,
кладбище.
only old
Оно
items
очень
left on the
старое.
graves.
Здесь
These are
даже
sled runners from a yurt,
не
a
видно
movable winter
никаких
dwelling.
надгробий, только разбросанная утварь, которую обычно оставляют на могилах.
A
Скорее
pot without a
всего,
bottom.
это полозья
Here
от
Lisa
балка.
Norlo, a child's stool.
Кастрюля уже
These are the
давно.
poles from a shum, a
Прогнившие.
bench, plates, and utensils.
Здесь вот непонятная какая-то нарила, стульчик, то ли детский, то ли качалка была какая-то для детей. Это вот тоже какие-то жерди, чумовые, что ли. Так вот, скамеечка, тарелки, посуда валяется здесь. Вот
Here was a
детская
child's
могила
grave,
была.
with toys,
Игрушки валяются.
felt boots, boots,
Игрушки,
muggahs. This is an old reindeer
валенки,
saddle.
сапоги, чайники. Это сидушка от оленя, старая-старая. Тоже, видать, оленевод помер, ему оставили. А это
This
вот
is the
речка.
Popigai River, Ma. It's so beautiful.
Вот такая она красивая. Недалеко
Not
от
far from the
поселка,
settlement, on
на
the
Брылистом
precipitous
берегу
bank of the
Попигая,
Papygay, Mesozoic rocks with remnants of ancient flora fossils are exposed.
окаменевших деревьев.
Here you can find
можно
entire
найти
trunks of
целые
prehistoric
стволы
trees,
доисторических
pieces of
деревьев,
branches, leaf
куски
imprints,
веток,
tree fruits resembling
отпечатки
coconuts.
листьев, плоды деревьев, похожих на кокосы.
All
Все
these
эти
findings
находки
testify to another era
свидетели
when a
другой
tropical
эпохи,
climate prevailed
когда
here
здесь был
and cold
тропический
deposits
климат,
were formed on
и
Earth.
формировались на Земле
But it's not
угольные
certain that
залежи.
this place was exactly here in the past.
Что именно это
Continental
место в
drift,
прошлом
the shift of the Earth's
было на
axis,
этом же
and
месте.
celestial catastrophes
Никто
have
не
not been
отменял
ruled out.
дрейф материков, смещение оси Земли и небесные катастрофы.
There is one more
Осталось
place
еще
on
одно место
Popigai
на
where we
Попигае,
landed.
куда мы залетели. Это
It is the
поселок
village of
Новый
Novi
Попигай,
Papygay, or
или
Sopoknoye.
Солнечное. Его
It is not
нет
on
на
modern
современных
maps.
картах.
The residents
Сюда
of the old
переселились
Papygay
жители
resettled
старого
here.
Попигая. Здесь
In the
нас
new
ждала
village,
самая
we
теплая
were met
встреча,
with the warmest
напомнившая
welcome,
нам Сандаско.
reminiscent of our reception in Sasco.
Несмотря на голую тундру,
Despite the treeless
суровые
tundra,
пейзажи
harsh
и
northern
удаленность
landscapes,
от
and remoteness
цивилизации,
from civilization,
жители поселка
the village
оказались
residents turned out to be
открытыми, добрыми,
open, kind,
интересными и
interesting, and hospitable
гостеприимными
people
людьми
with a
с большой
capital
буквы.
P. On the outskirts
На
of the
окраине
village, the
поселка
residents built a
жители
guest chum,
соорудили
around which they
гостевой чум,
organized a
возле
celebration for
которого
us.
устроили для нас праздник.
Novi Popigai resembles all northern villages.
Поселки.
Coal lies everywhere.
Также кругом
Survival is
лежит уголь,
impossible
без
without
которого
it.
не выжить.
Rows of identical houses stand, and there's no water supply or other
Нет
conveniences of
водопроводов и
civilization.
прочих благ
But true
цивилизации.
reindeer
Но
herders
зато
still
здесь
live here.
остались настоящие оленеводы.
Unfortunately, they are not in
Но
the
их
village now.
не оказалось в
They
поселке.
roam the tundra
Они
with
со
their
своими
herds.
стадами оленей кочуют по тундре. Жаль,
It's a
что
pity
не
that the
долетел.
reindeer herders
Но
are far
грустить
away,
нам
but
не
we didn't have
пришлось.
to be sad.
Жители
The village
поселка
residents
устроили
organized a
нам
joyful
веселый
celebration
праздник.
for us,
Закружили
immersed
нас
us in the
хороводе,
national dance
окунули в
Hero,
традиционные обычаи
introduced
и
us to traditional
угостили
customs and daily life,
северными
treated
кушаньями
us to northern
и
dishes,
устроили
and staged a
концерт.
concert. And all
Весело
this
было
was
всем.
sincere and
Но
informal.
как и в других поселках,
Everyone had
мужчины
fun. However, like in other villages, the men were on the gallery of the celebration, freeing the first rows for women and children.
стеснялись, понимали,
The men were shy, understanding that we would
и
leave
жизнь
and life
вернется
would
в
return to
своё
its usual
обычное
routine.
рутинное русло.
Гости дорогие,
Dear guests,
вас приветствует
the village
поселок
of Papygay
Попигай.
welcomes
И
you.
мы хотим вас
We want to
встретить
greet you with our
традиционно
traditional
с
treat,
нашей строганиной.
Straganina.
Попробуйте.
Try everything, it won't harm you.
Рыба деликатесная, чир. Пробуйте все. Вреда не будет. Ой,
Да, Taimyr сюда доходит. Раз в 10 дней.
There is still much to tell about these kind people and their reclusive life in this vast country. But to understand them, one must live here, be amidst the daily challenges and cares, and then your soul will surely be filled with the joy of the northern land, whose name is Popigai. I have had the opportunity to be here even in winter, when it's cold and dark outside. But despite that, among these people, I felt warmth and coziness. The celebration always begins with a greeting and feeding the spirit of the tundra. They light a bonfire and throw pieces of fat into it. Everyone is cheerful, the spirit is pleased, and the celebration begins. Similarly, in the tundra, when you come to your home or yurt, you always greet the local spirit by pouring a sip of vodka on the stove or into the bonfire.
Вот как тут будет.
The entire village came out to greet us. The residents showed us their traditional clothing tools. They told us about their lives, their problem. All residents wear warm boots made of reindeer hides.
Традиционные одежды, инструменты, утварь. Рассказали, как живут, какие проблемы. Все ходят в унтаечках, теплые, с оленины пошитые.
A fisherman showed how to knit a net. Without fish in these parts, survival is impossible.
Без рыбы здесь не выжить, поэтому это одно из традиционных видов хозяйствования. И шкура оленей, естественно, шьют одежду, которая удобная.
And these are the local beauties inspired by television and adorned themselves. Soon, on September 1st, they will be taken to a boarding school located in Katanga. It's time for us to return to the ship. New adventures await us in the expanses of Taimyr.
Красивые наши места, так тут же родная земля, богата, сильна и мощна, как красива земля Papygай. С детства его я люблю, малой родины я человек, как маму его я люблю. Akan tuldubon medyo mo. Меня только люби. Как красива земля, Попигай. С детства его я люблю. Малой родины я человек. Как маму его я люблю.